Peace, 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 and Black Power family. Like I sort of been taking a break. I'm back. First I got sick. I was under medication, so I couldn't come on here doing then. And then I'm a spiritual person, and I wholeheartedly believe that sometimes you have to unplug, meditate, and stay grounded. So I pretty much been working on that. But I'm here today, and I came on a little earlier today because I want to give you the groundwork, and I want to paint together this big picture that I'm going to present later on the complete breakdown of ADOS and reparations and what's going on, the complete breakdown. But before then, I have to tell you about this current beef that's going on right now. Right now, we currently have a beef between Meechie X, Yvette Carnell, and Tariq Nasheed. Now, I'm about to break this down so that later on, when I come back live around 7:30 Central Time, 8:30 Eastern, you'll already be familiar with, what's currently going on. And, like I won't have to fill in any of the gaps. Now, before I do that, I'm going to take a few minutes to speak to the people in my chat. I do love, all my people that support me. So let me give a few shout outs and say a few hellos. Shout out to Stephanie K in the building. Hello. Miss TR in the building. Hello. And Naturally Nadura in the building, as well as shout out to anybody who's watching from the sky. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button. By all means, I'm trying to broaden or get into a more appropriate sector. I am into politics and, the betterment of our people. So, by hitting a like and share, it helps, put me into the analytics where I could get into a more appropriate sector of YouTube. Okay, so let me go ahead and get started. Okay, this is the beef between Meechie X, Yvette Carnell versus Tariq Nasheed. Now, how this all began, for those of you who are, let me also just say this is about reparations. ADOS is the American descendants of slavery, and also which is founded by by Yvette Carnell and Tone Talks Antonio Moore. Okay, and the Black Agenda is founded by Meechie X. Now they work together in a pair in a team. I'm not going to say that they wholeheartedly agree with everything that each other, stands for. But, they're working together, like for a Black agenda and, for Black progress. So for that reason, I stand by them. Okay, now I don't agree with everything that ADOS pretty much has presented. From what I've heard of Meechie X, now I agree a lot with a lot of the things that I've heard thus far. So I like Meechie X, and I agree, pretty much with a lot of what she says. However, I cannot say at this time that I completely agree with everything she says, and I'm not going to ever do that with any organization or any group. It's like I like a lot of organizations, I like a lot of groups. I like anybody who's for the progress of us as a people. I will support any movement that is doing something for the betterment of us. However, I'm going to speak out when I see, things that are happening that are not for our best interest. Okay. And shout out to Katie G. Shout out to my homegirl, Mississippi Magnolia in the building. Shout out to Retro Babe. Good to see you, babe. Shout out to Auntie Donna in the building. All right. So this all started when New York Times decided to do a article on ADOS, the ADOS movement. And one thing I would like to first of all say is, like, I shout out ADOS for this purpose and this purpose alone. If nothing else, I shout out ADOS because reparations have been on the table for a long time. We have in Cobra, we have the DC Recovery Act, and we have the HR 40, in which reparations has made it to the Senate and the Congress. However, we just need somebody to sign off on that executive order. And we also have to come up with a common goal of what we want as an appropriate reparations package. So, we're halfway there. This is nothing that I feel this is nothing that's going to take place like almost immediately, but it does need all of our attention. Reparations is the most important thing right now, in terms of our future, in terms of our betterment, for the injustices that we have had to withstand. This is like one of the most important things, and this is something that everybody should be talking about. And this is why I have to commend ADOS and the Black Agenda with Meechie X and Yvette Carnell and Tone Talks, which is Antonio Moore, because they got it out there, because we've been had it on the books, we've been working on it. So for nothing else, I like the fact that it's a talking point. It's spreading. People is gaining more interest. Reparations, that is. Okay? But Tariq Nasheed, the New York Times, because Tariq Nasheed has been a supporter of ADOS, the ADOS movement. He's done multiple live streams. He's shared them on Twitter. He's commented on them on Twitter in a positive fashion. Okay, but because of that, New York Times also, contacted Tariq Nasheed for questions about the ADOS movement and reparations. Okay, so after New York Times, first of all, during the initial, what Tariq Nasheed said was that he originally told New York Times that ADOS was not an organization, because he felt that the New York Times was trying to make ADOS an organization to then paint the picture of ADOS being a Black extremist movement, a Black identified extremist movement. Now, I have to agree with him on that point, only because of the fact that there's a lot of rumors that ADOS is quite aggressive. Aggressive. And later on, I'm going to, tell you some more about things that's been going on, the things that's been said about ADOS, but, in terms of them being aggressive and things of that nature. But, I agree with him only because of that. So he told the New York Times that ADOS was not an organization. Okay. Now, after that, Tariq Nasheed then decides to start his own organization, which is FBA, which stands for Foundational Black Americans. Okay. And he also decided that he wanted to hold a conference. And in order to hold this conference, Tariq has now started raising $200,000. He's trying to raise $200,000 to rent a stadium for a conference, a FBA conference. Okay, I'm not going to speak on that at this particular moment. I'm going to go on and I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of the blanks. Okay, so at that point, Meechie X then saw a problem with that. Meechie X states that she has a problem with how Tariq Nasheed pimps the Black community for money. I wholeheartedly agree. One of the things, I came from the conscious community, and one of the things that, you know, I noticed was there was a pattern or a trend. See, a lot of times we like that, we like the preacher speeches, we like the minister speeches, and we fall behind what sounds good, and we don't look into the details of what they're saying. And therefore, a lot of times we will put a lot of our money where people are only putting mouth and no action. And a lot of these people who look at us as opportunities for their own personal benefits, they don't want to see us progress. They don't want to see us get better, because that would stop their hustle. That would stop them from eating. Now, what Meechie X stated was, why do you need a stadium, first of all? Because Tariq Nasheed shaded the ADOS and Black Agenda movement, stating that they have, you know, their meetings and stuff in a basement. Meechie X said, of course, because we are a grassroots movement. We're not trying to take or steal from our people. We're trying to build for our people. Okay, so you know, like Meechie X is saying, you're raising $200,000. Then you're charging, because he has a website up right now. Then you're charging like I think the least ticket is like $50, and you're probably gonna be like way up there somewhere in a stadium. Okay, and to $100 per ticket to go to attend this event. So you're double dipping. And then on top of that, what happens with a lot of these pro-Black hustlers, as I call them, they're pro-Black hustlers. They are selling hope to our false hope to our people. What happens with a lot of these pro-Black hustlers is when they have these events, and when they host all of these different things, and we're thinking it's gonna take us somewhere, it's gonna do something for us, but like, keep in mind, that's not their intention ever, because that stops their money flow. But when they have these events, first of all, they raise the money off of us with GoFundMe's and things of that nature. So we shouldn't have to pay. Okay, then let's turn around and say they're gonna charge you tickets. They're gonna charge you an entrance fee. So then you donated, then you got to pay at the door. So you just paid twice what you would have, twice for the same event. And then what turns around is they make a profit. And guess where that profit goes? Not back into our community. And yet, a lot of them have provided the data and the statistics of where Black people economically are on the bottom of all other races. And you know why that is? Because it's not that we don't have money. Black people are the number one consumers. Our problem is that we don't keep money within our community because, first of all, we don't support our own. Now, we can't blame our own for not supporting our own when people like Tariq Nasheed are doing, and a lot of these pro-Black hustlers are doing the things that they're doing. So, like this messes us up. But yes, by all means, we have to support our own, and we're going to have to learn how to keep our economics within our own community. It's stated that the dollar, like in all other races, exchanges at least 7 times before it leaves other race communities. With ours, when we get our dollar, it immediately goes outside of our community. Immediately. So it's not that we're poor. It's not that we don't get our hands on money. It's that we don't keep our hands on money because we don't have our own corporations. We don't have like our own. And When we do, we don't support our own. And then a lot of times when we do create like shea butter, we sell it like BET, like Johnson and Johnson. We sell it. We have invented and created so much. First of all, Black Americans like are the first people here. Cotton was our industry, tobacco was our industry, the mineral rights of this land is our industry. This land belongs to us. We started it. And these other people have been gaining wealth off of our backs and off of our stuff forever. So they owe us. Reparations belongs to us. They don't even have enough money or enough resources to pay us back from what they took from us. First of all, okay, but we're old. Just know that. And if you're sitting around and you're thinking that we are not old, or you thinking that it's not reparations is not worth talking about, then let's just consider this one fact. All other races except for us has gotten their reparations. All other races except for us has gotten their reparations. Why aren't we getting it? Because of things like this. Because of things like this. Because we have, like, I don't know what it is, we have self-hatred issues. And then we want to be better than our other brothers. Like, no one man is an island. We have to collectively do this. One wealthy Black person does not compensate and will not take care of us as a whole, as a Black race. And we need to understand that. So by one person becoming wealthy, just like we have wealthy Black people, it's not going to help us all. And it's not even going to help them because they're weakened. Okay, so let me get back to the subject at hand. So after the New York Times allegedly, according to Tariq Nasheed, they contacted him about, with questions and stuff about the ADOS movement. Okay, so after this, he starts the Foundational Black American FBA. And then he wants to raise $20,000 to host his own conference. ADOS has been having conferences, and the Black Agenda has been having conferences, forever. And they don't charge people arm or leg. It's not like, it doesn't appear to be such a big money grab. Now, I'm not going to say it's not, because, like behind a lot of, different tables, there's a lot of different secrets. Okay. So, Tariq Nasheed, former pimp and current misogynist, stated that he didn't have a problem after Meechie X came out and exposed him, and basically it said that she had an issue with him. He stated, and after Yvette, Carnell, and Tone Talks came out and stated that they had an issue with that, he said, I don't have a problem with Tone Talks, Antonio Moore. He states that his problem with Yvette Carnell is the fact that, of her own personal opinion about the doctor, the late Black Pan-Africanist, Dr. Francis Cress Welshing, which is a Pan-African identified mentality, like, Moore's brother Tariq Nasheed. Okay, so Meechie X says she's tired of these pro-Black hustlers hustling off our own people, selling us false hope. And I have to wholeheartedly agree. Like, it does nothing for us. Why charge us money for something that's supposed to help us? During the civil rights era, they didn't do that. They weren't charging money. They were banding together. They were putting together their resources, but they were not charging. And our problem today is most of our leaders are selfish, and they generally take up things for their own personal gain. And then I'm going to tell you later on, I'm going to break it down. I'm trying not to go into too much details. I just want to provide the foundation of like what's going on, the beef, in which Tariq Nasheed stated that he could have roasted that Yvette Carnell and Meechie X and Tone Talks were easy roast. My reparations, my future, your children's reparations and future is not a roast, a gag, or YouTube beef. They are making clowns out of something that is so serious. And I'm not going to say they, because there was really not a major issue other than the fact that they stated that, ADOS was a little bit aggressive until Tariq Nasheed decided that he wanted to, do a money grab. Yvette made a great point. And then before I say that, a lot of people have been commenting and they have been saying, why didn't Tariq Nasheed just continue to support, stand by, and work with ADOS? As well as there are other organizations out there as well, like NCOBRA, like HR 40, like the DC Recovery Act that has been like working for reparations for us for a long time, and they're more historically correct and more historically right than ADOS. But the reason that I like ADOS is because of the fact that they're building the momentum. They're putting it out here in the streets. They're making it a great talking point, in which I'm going to cover a lot of that later on at 7:30. But a lot of, like Yvette Carnell said, that the reason why Tariq Nasheed is not supporting ADOS or, has not, collaborated and combined with them in terms of the movement is because he wants to be a leader. And I say not just a leader, ego. It's a money grab and it's a greedy grab. Okay. So Yvette made a great point. Yvette said that, how Tariq Nasheed, a former pimp, and this is real, this is not allegedly, he will tell you himself, he's the one known for calling, black women who date outside their race bad witches, and he's misogynistic. And this is why he had a problem with Yvette Carnell and Meechie X and didn't have so much of a problem with Tone Talks Antonio Moore. Okay. But she was like, how can a former pimp who has too many bad videos and pimp books be a leader to the black community? I wholeheartedly agree. That is not a good look. And how will you go from one extreme to the next? If you care about black people, you care about black people. If you care about our growth, then you know that, you cannot be against women. You cannot be against children and care. It's like you have to be for all of us, all categories. You can't separate. And that's one of the problems within our, black community. And one of the main reasons why we can't grow is because we're too divided. We're divided when it comes down to religions. That's why we have to keep religion way out of politics. Religion and politics should never mix, because you cannot force someone to think or to feel or to believe or to know the same way that you do. It would never work. So in order for us to grow, we're going to have to push religion out of our growth, out of our politics, out of our tribal conversations, out of our community conversations. Number two, we're divided in terms of like gender, or in terms of sexuality. And LGBTQ is just as much, like, in fact, a lot of LGBTQ fight harder, for our black growth than a lot of, the heterosexual community. So you can't say, okay, we're only going to be about the heterosexual community, in which this has been happening way too long. So now you just dropped off another group of people that we could have had on our team. Okay, then, so we cannot be unified and collective like they were in the past if we're divided based on these ideologies, which at the end of the day have nothing to do with our economic growth and our survival for the future. And we got to get that. And then we got to start looking at these people that we choose to follow, these people that we term or we worship as black leaders. A lot of them are sellouts. You know what sellouts mean? Sellouts mean that they're getting gain, monetary gain. They're getting some type of gain off of misleading us. And that's been happening for way too long, too. Now, I'm sick of Tariq Nasheed and Umar Johnson. For the longest time, they were trying to get him on the reparations bandwagon. They were trying to get him on the ADOS movement. When he saw them dollar signs, he decided he for ADOS too. You know why? Because he see where he can get some money. And too many people have given it to him. Just like still today, here it is, what, 10 years later, and we still don't have a school, Umar Johnson? When are we going to stop supporting these people just because they talk good or just because we might align with some of their discriminations, some of their division? We cannot be unified if we divide. It's one for all. And we can't force people to align with this way of thinking or this way of thinking or this ideology, because at the end of the day, freedom is about our choices, our own individual personal choices. And as long as we're not hurting the next person, so be it. So we have a lot of changes and a lot of things to look at when we look at things in terms of our leadership. And something as serious as our reparations movement, and that's why I came on to speak about it, and provide a little foundation on it, has been turned into a roast and a gag, has been turned into a competition, has been turned into a clown show by people who want to be Black leaders. So are we going to follow these people? Or is someone else out there going to step up and become a better leader? Or are we going to follow people that have better character? Just like the Kanika Jenkins situation. Like, a lot of people were working to get that case investigated by the FBI because we found that it was improperly investigated. Now, and then you had all of these people out here who made it a clown show, and still today, Kanika Jenkins has not gotten justice for her case. They knew that they improperly investigated that case, and that was the biggest point. The case was improperly investigated. But by the time you get all of these people like the freedom fighters who saw it as a money grab, by the time you get all of these people who saw this as a opportunity, either for clicks and views or for, like some type of monetary gain, putting their little 2 cents in, competing, hating on the next person, turning it into a clown show. At the end of the day, what was left? No justice. And that's what's happening with us. At the end of the day, we're so busy being crabs in a barrel. We're so busy hating on each other because, at the end of the day, they taught us to hate ourselves. That, we're holding each other back. And we're not going to survive like that. So I came out just to, basically, break that down before I go into my commentary a little later with a complete breakdown. Now, later on, I'm going to discuss where both movements are wrong. I don't want to go too deep into it now, but you got to have your facts together. When you ask for something, they're not going to pay out anything twice. So they're only going to pay for what's accurate. And this is one of the reasons why they keep scapegoating. They keep throwing wrenches in just like the New York Times. They did that to throw a wrench in the game, and guess what? It worked. Because of the simple fact that, first of all, we can break the bank. Because we're the most deserving out of any of these other people who've gotten reparations. But secondly, they don't want the truth to come out. Because if the truth come out, then they owe us everything that they got, ill-gotten off this land, resources, everything. But, we just got to do better. But I'm going to break it down how they're wrong, how, we're going to have to be more accurate, how, we got to watch out how we conduct ourselves. And then, to Tariq Nasheed, like Tariq Nasheed could not be concerned about them labeling ADOS as a Black identity extremist movement because he's already been labeled himself as a Black identity extremist. So we don't need that. We don't need that, because this is not some militant thing. We don't have to act militant and act all crazy and ignorant to get what we deserve. That would give them more excuses not to give it to us. It's an appropriate way about going about doing everything. Like they said, you get more bees, you get more honey with knowledge and truth and facts and kindness than you will with anything else. So I'm gonna take a few minutes to address the chat. I just want to come on and provide a little groundwork on like what's been going on, like in terms of the beef, so that I won't have to discuss that later when I break down all the complete facts, like the wrongs and the rights, a lot of stuff that would need to be done, and a lot of things that would need to change, and all the different characters and conversations that's been going on in terms of one of the most important conversations that we as people should be having on everybody's dinner table, everywhere. When it comes down to electing any type of political official, when it comes down to anything, the conversation should be reparations. That is the most important thing that we could even be dealing with right now. So let me see what's going on in the chat. And then, I'm going to see you guys later around 7:30, to give, because a lot of people, let me tell you this too. I visited a lot of chats and stuff like that, getting my research and stuff together. And I found it was some people, and they were being real honest. They was like, when they go into a lot of these people's chats, like Tariq, Nasheed. Now, Meechie X, she sort of breaks it down pretty good. But like Yvette, Carnell, and Tone Talks, they talk a lot of statistics and data. And they were being honest. They were saying that, a lot of these people in there, they're, roo-rahing because they're only worried about when their check is going to be cut, but they're not understanding anything that they're really saying. So that's why I'm going to come back later, and I'm going to try to break it down, and, to educate about what's, what they're really saying, or what really needs to be said, or like what we're going to have to do to be more appropriate. Because even young Pharaoh, and shout out to young Pharaoh, he stated a while back, he was like, one of the biggest reasons like we're not getting reparations is because we're not asking for it the right way. We're not asking for the right things, because we have lack of knowledge of our own selves, our own history. A lot of people still think they African. That's how sad it is. Because they have not researched themselves. They have not listened to their grandparents that said that you're Indian, and researched their own family tree manually. Not listen to what the next man say. How can the next man tell you better about yourself than you can? That's sad. And that's what we're at now. And that's what we're doing now. We are allowing the next man or the next person to tell us about our own selves. Isn't that crazy? Do your own research. Research your family tree manually. Know your grandparents' names and where they were born and where they came from. Don't let somebody else tell you where, because if that's the case, I could tell you were born in a sewer. And how could you prove me wrong? All right, so like to the chat, let's see. Any questions, place them in there. Anything y'all like me to cover later on, place that in there, as well as make sure you place that on the comment section. And like I said, help me get out of this sector, because my goal, I'm into politics. I'm into the betterment of our people. And my goal is to reach those who, like really are going to care, really, and really who are going to help, and who are going to do something about it. So like I'm trying to branch out to a more appropriate sector for, my conversation. So, by liking, sharing, and, getting people to subscribe, it definitely will help. Shout out to JLC 87 Productions in the building. DC Kool-Aid, hey fam. Oh, look who done made it over here. Oh Lord. Well, look, I'm brand new, Queen. I don't even want to say your name, but I'm brand new. I'm brand new. I wish I needed some moderators in the house. And like it's quality, not quantity. I mean, it's quantity, not quality. Quality, not quantity. Okay, and Shy9, she said, have you talked about the Comcast versus Byron Allen Supreme Court case? It's taking place tomorrow. I have talked about what Comcast is trying to do in terms of amendment 14, I believe it is. I sometimes get those amendments mixed up, but this is the amendment that gives Black people freedom from slavery. Um, pretty much, and how Comcast was trying to, and Trump were trying to rid this amendment. So yeah, like a lot of people out here talking about like, and let me say something else too real quick. Tariq Nasheed is also around there telling Black people don't vote. He's a part of those pro-blacks telling Black people they vote don't count. That's crazy. Voting is our only voice. Just like when it comes down to this, that's in the Supreme Court. They're gonna vote on that. We gotta vote on who serves in the Supreme Court. Okay, but yeah, the Republicans and Trump are not only trying to take away women's rights, they're also trying to take away Black rights. And then and what's sad is we have a lot of Black people out here that are pushing people to vote for these Republicans, or either pushing for Black people to not vote at all. That is crazy. How can we be so against ourselves? Yeah, they want the Treaty of 1866 erased from the books. They want it erased from the Constitution. And the Constitution cannot be changed technically, because the Constitution was not created by them. The Constitution was actually created by the Black Indians. See, a lot of people don't know that the first 8 presidents, when it was America and not the United States Corporation, because America is the country of the continent. When it was America, we had 8 Black presidents. We also had Black Senate and Congress. That's when the Democratic Party was the Republican Party. It basically switched. That's why when you hear people say that we used to be the Republican Party, it switched. It wasn't that we were these same people that we see today. It was like back then the Democrats was the Republicans and the Republicans were the Democrats. Okay? Bear with me just a moment. I'm sorry about that. I had grandma duties. Right quick. But yeah, like, so they're trying to take away our rights, and we're sitting here, we're loving hip hop, we're beefing, we're roasting, we're hurting each other while they annihilating us. Ain't that crazy? We're focused on so much stuff that's really hurting. We're helping them hurt us. But yeah, they're trying to take away our Black rights. They're trying to take away the rights for women to vote. You know why? Because the majority of Black people are women. The majority of Black voters are women. When it comes down, and that's why when we're doing this gender thing, when these people are out, when these Black men are disrespecting Black women or trying to devalue or place Black women in submission, they're actually placing their own selves in submission, because the power of the Black people lies in numbers, lies in the Black woman. That's crazy. How are we going to keep doing things that are against ourselves? Yeah, Tariq has always been greedy. Yeah, well, I heard she was mixed, retrobate. Yeah, and he's always calling black women who deal with mixed or different breeds of different races bed wenches. How disrespectful. Hey, Lightstorm. Shout out to Lightstorm in the building. Well, I like Yvette. I like but like they're not all the way there. They're gonna have to. It's like they're gonna have to do a lot of research into our history, and I'm gonna break that down later. I just don't want to go too far into details. Shout out to Val New Beginnings. The Wiley Show is in the building. Drunk Again Meek is in the building. Yeah, I want like I'm trying to set up some software, Lightstorm, and break down the basics of how to manually research your family tree. I spent a lot of time, trying to do that while I wasn't on as well. I still haven't gotten it right. I'm probably gonna have to purchase some more equipment and stuff like that. But just bear with me, or I might try to, find a way. Because here's the thing with StreamYard that I found: it does allow you to share. However, it lags and it delays in the sharing, and then it's like hard for you to be able to see at the same time that you're sharing. And like when it comes down to providing references and resources and things like that, especially like because I'm going to use ancestry.com because it's free. And like although I use Family Search, I use ancestry.com, but I'm going to use Family Search because it's free. Because I want most people to learn how to use the free version in case they can't afford it or whatever, just for trial and error. It's free. Why not? So I'm going to start off with familysearch.org and, show people how to, start tracing their family tree. I'm even willing, if you're interested and you want to be, you want to, like, when I do it, I would prefer to use a person. But in order to do so, you have to have like the basic information on who your grandparents were before the 1940s. I prefer not to use anybody who's living. Like in terms of your ancestors, I prefer not to use anyone who's living, but I can use one. I can take a candidate and and help start and start you off with your family tree just to help show everybody else. Yeah, Drunk Again Meek. Shout out. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your support. Rose Go Lightly. You said what black Americans are now Indians. We've been a lot of us have been Indians. Not they only brought the first Africans brought over because Europeans are Africans. There's only two continents. There's America, which consists of North, Central, and South America. So that's Brazil, that's the islands. And that's another thing about ADOS, and that's another thing about these people talking about the American, but they're talking about the American descendants of slavery, yet they're not considering Central America as descendants of slavery. And then once you know the history of slavery, then you know that you can't separate it down to just North America or the United States government. But I'll get into that a little later as well. But research your family tree manually. Most black people here are not Africans. We're Mayan descent, Mayan, Aztec, and Inca descent. We were here way before, we've been here. It's crazy to think that, people were only created in one place on the whole planet. Let me name what's the first one? Never mind. I'll do that later. Miss Monette, a defeated black person, stated that black people are done in America. I hope that Miss Monette is not black because, a lot of times when you find these troll accounts and stuff like that, a lot of times they be, white supremacists or, white people or different races of people that, are, trying to distract us. So, Miss Monette, like for one thing, either you're a defeated black person in which, my ancestors weren't defeated. And if you claim that you believe in a God, then why are you going to allow yourself to be defeated? That's crazy. That means you don't have faith and trust. See, Miss Monette, that shows your ignorance because it's like this. If you know anything about genetics and biology, first of all, you know that when you say Pentecost, you're saying for the first 50 days while everyone is in the womb, they're all females. When you look at the fact that we're X and Y chromosomes, which X is female and Y is male, we're all male and female. So, you know, like when you that homosexuality argument is ignorant. And most of the preachers and stuff in these churches or these religions and stuff, they're ignorant to biology and they're teaching the wrong thing. And actually, they're teaching hatred and division as well. Okay, well, it seems like I've pretty much gone through everything, all of the questions and stuff. I'm going to come back a little later. Plus, my dog wants my attention. So I want to say peace, love, and hair grease. I'm going to give y'all a little music to go out on, and I will see you a little later. So bye for now.